The miners doing the pit, they were a team. They worked together, grafted together. They were the same when they went out in the football park.
It was hard work, but took a pride in your work.
It improved me as a person. I became very much involved with people who were working hard, who played hard.
They literally relied on each other's help to see them through the day, to keep them safe and to keep them alive until the end of their shift.
I mean, the camaraderie, the teamwork definitely set you up for playing football, because we were all down there, we were all together, we were a long way from home, if you like. For all the money in the world, I wouldn't give up my experience in the pit. But I don't kid myself on, I was delighted when I got out.
I think they basically enjoyed their work, but they enjoyed going up the pit more. You went up and down in a cage, 1,650 feet deep, in the pitch black, and they had to be first into the cage, and first out the cage, and first into the showers, and first out the showers, so they could be first into the pub.
I got started here in Lady Victoria pit in 1972, and you start off in the surface and then you go to the pit head, do the jobs up there, and you go down to the pit bottom, do the jobs there, and there's roadways for the pit bottom with belts that carry the coal in that, so you get a job there as well. So you're gradually getting nearer the coal face.
Well, I started at this pit in 1963 as an apprentice mine surveyor. You had to survey the workings underground and relate them to the surface, and you also had to set out, let them know which way the tunnels were going underground. So you'd give them bearings, and then you would rattle strings up into the roof and hang stones from it, so you could close one eye and look along the line and give the miners a line for where they're putting their next girders. I enjoyed most of it. It's like everything else, had good days and bad days, but generally speaking, the miners were quite entertaining.
The Lady Victoria was a great pit to work at. It was just camaraderie and the men you work with.
I was involved with the coal mining industry from 1949 when I left school until 1967. The coal board was offering work experience for school leavers, so I went on a 2-week work experience at Cobney Colliery in Fife, and I loved it.
I started in 1974 and I worked in Cobney Colliery till 1976. I was just on 18 years old when I went in to the mines. I was working on repairing the roofs. Then after that I got the job which was called the button boy, where you sat on the button at a certain part of the belt, and then if the belt stopped, you had to reset it and start it. It took an hour and a half to get from the pit head to where you were working. So you were only really there probably about 4.5 hours. What I do remember working in the main gate, it was 93 degrees when you worked in there. You just had your underpants on, your pit helmet, your self-rescuer, your boots, because it was so hot.
When I finished school, when I was 15, ended up, school holidays was finished, and on Monday I started at Blair Hall Colliery. Started in the pit head. It was a table, it was called. The idea was to keep the coal on one side and the stones on the other side. I was fortunate to get asked to go into the time office, where the miners came to the office and you handed them a cheque to log them in. So it's basically a collar and tie job.
Everybody wanted out, you know, if you could get something better. Some people, you know, died in the wool mining communities, followed their granddads, their dads and everything into it. But, you know, I never met anybody that wouldn't have got out if they could have.
Well, father was night shift, and there was 3 of us in the family. Anyway, we all slept in the same beds in the days. And I can mind to this day, 6 o'clock in the morning, when I knock on the door, and it was the police to tell my mother that my father had been killed in the pit.
I was lucky myself, but I've seen a few accidents. One really bad one, like one boy was really badly crushed, but he survived. And I always mind when we go up the pit, the manager was shaking our hands because how quickly we'd got him up.
Friday morning, there was a guy who come from through the Ochil Hills way. He used to do this football thing, and on the Friday morning he got me at the top of the pit and he says, "Remember, you owe me £1. I says, "Andrew, I'll give you it when I come back up." "All right." He says, "Yeah, okay." And he got killed about 3 hours after that. So those type of things stick with you. They won't go away. I wish I'd given the £1, you know, these wee things, you know. So there was a great side of it, then there was that side of it. And in between of it, a lot of hard work. The work was very, very hard.
You wouldn't believe how hard they were doing the pit, and when they came up, they were just quiet, mild-mannered men, but you wouldn't get on the wrong side of them, some of them. But it's strange how they were different when they came up the pit.
Miners and ex-miners went down the pit and went and played football after their shift.
A lot of people in the pit did play football, especially most of the younger ones, and just about everybody had an uncle or a grandfather or something that had played at a reasonable level.
Every one of them played football. They played with pit bits, there was steel take-ups, there was sliding off each other and everything in the park. All hardy men, hardy boys.
Bobby Kirk stayed next door to me. He was a full-back with the Hearts when they had a great team. So Bobby Kirk went down the pit at 7 o'clock in the morning and came back up at 12 instead of 2, but it was docked his wages. And that was quite prevalent.
The Saturday shift was a short shift. The miners who were playing junior had to rush up the pit, rush through the baths and rush to get to the game starting at 2 o'clock. And you could tell they still had coal dust in their eyes.
There was a place in Newton Grange, the Square they cried it. Everybody came out their doors on a Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. They played 10 hours, 10 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, and then go in. There were no showers or that then, it was baths. So you had a bath and away at the local pub, the Old Toll. We all went up there, and football players can't play 2 games a week now.
I had connections down in Southampton and they got in touch with me up here. Well, my father did. He was and said, "Eastleigh would actually like to sign you, why don't you come down?" My mother wanted me out the pits. She's just been a mother. Convinced my wife to move down, sign with Eastleigh. I was only there like about 9 months, and Bristol City, Leicester City and Bournemouth all made me offers. And I signed with Bristol City. I was earning roughly £28 a week in the pit, and you went right sort of more or less on to £70 a week for just playing football.
I was obviously very much football orientated, and at that time my Uncle John run Blair Hall Colliery Juniors, so that lasted till I was 16. So I was only in the Blair Hall Colliery 61 to 62, when Jock Steen signed me from Blair Hall Colliery to Dunfermline Athletic. But Jock Stein was the boss was just unbelievable. His man management was he knew he allowed me to play between 16 and 17, play junior against in the junior league in the Fife area. The big man was unbelievable.
Jock's impact at Dunfermline was absolutely extraordinary. They were red hot favourites for relegation that season, and joining late in the season, he managed to save them from relegation. The following season, he went on to win the Scottish Cup for them. That then entitled them to play in Europe, and they even reached the quarter-finals, semi-finals of European competition at Dunfermline. Jock Stein was pivotal, absolutely pivotal to the success of Celtic and the team that they became through the 60s and the 70s and right up to the present day. I don't think it's any exaggeration that Jock turned round the fortunes of that football club.
It was no surprise to me when I heard, you hear the full stories about Jock Stein, how brilliant a man manager he was. I mean, Paddy's not all mentioned it, but the amount of people that have told me that. And he come from a mining community and he was a great man manager, and Bill Shankly and all these guys.
It was hard work, so you were used to hard knocks. That's the first thing. If you were knocked down, you got up. You didn't writhe in agony as they do now.
I think you had to have strength of character, yet you also had to be half daft to do the job. And a lot of us were half daft.
I mean, it gives you that teamwork, camaraderie side of things, which you see when you go into a dressing room, but I was already sort of primed for it through working in the mines.
Jock had been a miner from being the age of 14, so he'd been a miner for about 13 years before he finally gave it up, and it made him the man he was when he was above ground.
Dare I say it, in the end, for those who were very good at it, it was an escape route from hard labour to a different kind of hard work, but not in the deep darkness of a coal mine.
It's different. I think once you've been through that experience, it does shape you for life. You realise how lucky you are when you go into other areas. For all the money in the world, I wouldn't give up my experience in the pit. But I don't kid myself on, I was delighted when I got out.